I'm not gonna hold y'all. This one was actually pretty interesting, but at the same time, not that unexpected. But let's go ahead and talk about it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Big Blue in this channel where you find the truth, seek understanding, and be the light. And boy, let me tell you, there was a lot of things that just went on this Sunday. As you can see, I'm dressed up just a little bit, and that's because, if you guys already didn't get the memo, I went to the John Ossoff Vacation Bottom rally today in Atlanta. Well, it's this more than likely not today as in Sunday, but you get what I mean. So now the question is, Blue, why would you even go there? I thought you were conservative. What happened to you? You know, aren't you like MAGA way through? That's Black Lives Matter. Anyways, you guys are understanding my point. Yes, I am finding myself to have more conservative ideologies and values and such. That doesn't mean that I can't go to the other side of the aisle and see what it is that they're talking about with my own two eyes. Makes it all the more better. So now it's like I'm actually there. I'm seeing what they're talking about, as opposed to getting it from news feeds and getting it from TikTok and Instagram, all that good jazz. So like I said in my previous video where I actually showed exactly, my experience that was while I was there, it's a matter of I was there. So when somebody says, or there's a clip or whatever case may be, where they may be putting out some wrong information, some fake news out into the media, I could be like, yeah, that didn't happen, or yeah, that actually did happen. But surprisingly enough, this rally wasn't nothing too crazy. It wasn't anything outrageous. There wasn't anything that was said that was out of the ordinary. It just seems like the same old talking points. So it's like it wasn't, I don't want to say that it was underwhelming, but there was nothing that made me like, oh wow, this is what it is. And I say that in relation to when I went to Jamal Bryant's church, New Birth, how I went there, and even though I was there, it was very eye-opening actually being there and experiencing the church as opposed to, seeing it live, because you really just see some snippets of the audience, but then the focus is mostly on Pastor Jamal Bryant and then some commentary with the YouTubers. But when you're actually there, it's like you can actually see and feel what it is that they have there. So likewise, I did the same here. I decided to go. And surprisingly enough, the invitation was actually from Jamal Bryant when I went to the church. This wasn't on my agenda at any time in my life, but it was while I was there. If you guys actually caught the sermon towards the end of the sermon, he mentioned that there was going to be the rally today. And mind you, this was last week, I believe. So he mentioned that there was going to be the rally, and that in order to get an RSVP to be at the rally, you had to scan a QR code. He couldn't give no details or no address or nothing like that. It's very, I don't want to say very secretive, but it was a little secretive as to the whereabouts. So only very few people would be able to get this. So I took that as a message from God, saying, here's an opportunity for you to bear witness of what is actually going on in these rallies. And I took it. So it was very interesting. I appreciate you, Jamal Bryant, for the invitation to the rally. Me being on the opposite side of the lane, both in your church and also going to this rally. My eyes have been opened ever so slightly here. It just really confirmed some stuff, but I say it was definitely an interesting experience just being able to sit and witness. So there's a couple points that I did want to bring up when it came to the rally. What did I see while I was over there? Majority of what I saw over there was, as you can see, there's like a lot of diversity if you've seen the video that I had up. As a matter of fact, so let me see. So if you look around, it's kind of not 100% clear, but there's definitely more Here you go. Here you go. There's definitely more diversity here than I would suppose at, let's say, specifically a Trump rally, but I would also say for a Republican rally. There's way more diversity, but this is kind of what you expect from a Democratic rally, because as we all know, the Democrats' focus is on the minorities, blacks, Hispanics. The crazy thing is, I've never seen any Asians here. Which honestly, I don't even think they jump into politics like that. I really think they just came to America, and whatever rules they have in America, they are just gonna follow and go with it. But yeah, so it's really it was pretty diverse. You did have your liberal white women that were there, which is interesting because there was somebody that was asking me. They may not have been locals. So there was these two women that were walking when I was about to cross the street to get to the entry point, and they were asking me, "Yo, do you live around here? Do you know what's going on across the street?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the rally for John Ossoff and then out of nowhere, this random white lady just walks by, and she's just like, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, or whatever her middle name is. I'm just like, okay, ma'am. And she said it with such attitude, and I'm like, sorry for not having her name at the tip of my tongue. But I mean, whatever. That's that's her. And then what was really interesting was that she almost got ran over trying to rush across the street, like literally, I want to say inches from getting run over. Which I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because why are we rushing? Where's the rush for? Come on, you're gonna make it. Like, I got inside, and as you can see in the video, there was still plenty of space in the floor. I ended up going upstairs because they were playing music, and they were playing like, regular dance floor music and stuff like that. Cupid Shuffle, Cha-Cha Slide, and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm not here to be doing all that. So let me go find myself a seat. Then I found myself a seat, but it was all the way at the top, which, I mean, wasn't the worst thing. So that was whatever. And I will say it was nice to see, some culture differences. You got the white people, the black people, and you and you see like the older white ladies, they're listening to, the black specific songs or African American songs, hip hop and stuff like that. And they're trying to keep up with the beat, but it was not working. But they were showing their support to the cause and being down. And look at me sounding like a liberal. My goodness. Anyways, just seeing everybody just come together and like supporting a cause is I mean, it was a nice feel. It was a nice feel. But what the cause is for is more important than just the unity itself. So there was they did have two speakers, or I guess three speakers technically, before Bottoms and Ossoff came out. Well, actually four speakers. So the first one was a young lady. She was not a janitor. She was a cafeteria woman in Atlanta, and she was just saying how happy she is to be there, all that good stuff, normal stuff. And then of course the conversation is, as you expected, Medicare and how her insurance went up about $400, and that's why she's voting for John Ossoff, so that they can get that back and bring those prices back down, whatever the case may be. And I'm not dogging her for whatever the case may be, because she's right. And insurance did go up. Insurance did go up. Republicans did say, Trump administration did say that they weren't going to go up, that it wasn't going to affect too much of the insurance policies. It was just going to be for, specific groups of people. Turns out being for a lot more people, and insurance policies did go up. Premiums did go up for a lot of people. So, she's right on that part. So cool. So she made her valid statement. The next one was actually very interesting. And this is where I have to be careful with when I say stuff and the way that I'm thinking, and how not just me, but everybody needs to be very cognizant when they're making these type of not judgment calls, but inserting themselves in other people's situation. What do I mean by that? So there was this couple, this young couple. They had 3 kids, I think it was. The woman was a small business owner, and then the man, he said he was an electrical engineer. Great. Cool. What caught me off guard with what they were saying was that they were saying that they were struggling to the point where when they went to the grocery store to get groceries, to get diapers for their young kids or whatever the case may be, that there are times that they had to choose between diapers or certain specific foods, and how they don't spend any frivolous money or whatever the case may be, but it's still a struggle. And I'm just sitting here like, how? You're a small business owner, unless you're small, and this is not me judging. This is not me. I'm just being upfront with what it is that I see. If you're a small business owner, if you're working as an electrical engineer somewhere, you have to be making more than 80, 90, especially with his age. I'm sure he's like maybe a couple years older than I am. So he's been in that industry for a while, and he says that he works for a big company. So you're making more than 80, 90 for sure in Georgia. For the woman, if you're a small business owner, you also would have to be making a decent size, more than 50. I'll say with that, more than 50. Okay, cool. To me, and again, this is for me and my situations, based off of that, their situation, and he probably makes way more than I do. I'm just lowballing just for the heck of it. But the thing that caught me off guard was that the situation that I'm in with my family is self-inflicted. Consumer credit card debt that we had that puts us where we're at. Granted, in-laws and stuff like that we're now taking over as well. But then that's added stuff that we have to take care of. But for where we're at, we're doing okay. Now, if we were to get rid of all of our consumer debt, all of our credit card debt, we would be coasting just fine. Just fine. So for them to say that, I'm like, where is it that you live? Where is it that you live, and why is it that a small business owner and an electrical engineer that is working for apparently some big company, he didn't say where, cannot afford stuff for their household? Now, granted, 3 kids, young kids, they probably cost a lot to feed them, especially with the specific foods that they're going to eat and foods that they may not want to eat. Not only that, it costs a lot more. And that's the other thing that I'll give it to consideration, is that when you do have both parents that work, you tend to, you get to a situation where unless your schedules can really work, you're going to be caught in a situation where you're either buying food out or buying already cooked food that you just have to reheat. The whole starting from scratch and taking the hour, 2 hours, depending if you're Haitian, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to prep dinner, that's almost out the window because of the economy and just, the idea of women, going out and working and stuff like that and not being in the house and, needing to have the 2-income household. So I'll give them that, them having to buy the foods that they could just prep up as opposed to just eating from fresh. That could be a factor. I'm not saying that could be a factor, but it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those situations where I'm doing that thing where it's like, if me and my situation and my family situation are doing okay, and other people, I'm sure, have less. And the only reason that we're in this situation that we're in right now is because of the debt that we put upon ourselves. Then other people should be okay if they're making as much as me and my wife does. But that's just me. That's just me. And yeah. Now, there was a point that needs to be made. There was a point that was said in regards to the younger people being in office. I will agree with that. I'm not saying like fresh out of college, stuff like that. But John Ossoff, he's not, somebody that has grandkids in office. He's still fairly young. I'm maybe a couple years older than I am. Let's see, how old is he? John Ossoff is 39, and Keisha Bottoms is not 39. Can I just get her information? What the heck? Keisha Bottoms is 56. She doesn't look that old. She looks pretty good for 56. So Keisha Bottoms is 56. She's 56. Well, I mean, I guess so. So, yeah, I will agree with that. We do need more people to be that are younger, that are seasoned, not seasoned, but, you know, that are in office that aren't like 60, 70 years old. The experience is good, but it can't be everybody in the cabinet. It can't be everybody in the cabinet. It can't be everybody on the floor. Like, we can get some young people to get in there. That'd be great. But like those that aren't going to fall into the political game and actually do what the government needs to do and handle with foreign affairs and provide any type of assistance to its citizens, legit assistance, and handle, I don't know, infrastructure or whatever the case may be. So speaking in terms of Jamal Bryant and giving me this invitation to the rally, to my surprise, he was the one to bring out John Ossoff. And I was not expecting that at all. I love going to places and like being surprised because it's not often that I'm ever surprised. My wife tries to surprise me. It fails every time. My younger sister does a good job of surprising me. So I like being surprised. It's just that it's very tough because I'm very observant and I don't seek things, but I just notice things. And then I'm just like, there could be 1,000 things that it could be. And whatever it is that, you know, the surprise could be about is one of those things in my head. And yeah. So I say that because when I went to Jamal Bryant's church and I saw Jonathan Nelson, that was a pleasant surprise and a weird surprise, but it was a surprise nonetheless. I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then here, seeing Jamal Bryant again, I'm like, you just need to stay away from me, bro. I was not expecting to see you here, so it was interesting. Let's just go ahead and see what he had to say really quick. It was a quick 7 minutes, but let's go. Let's talk about it. And this is why I say that Jamal Bryant is more like I don't know, what do you call? He's more of a public speaker, political head than a pastor. That's just me personally, because he does just fine in right here. He does just fine. How he talked right here is the same way that he talked in his sermon. I couldn't tell the difference. Talk about politics and living in America as opposed to preaching the word. But I've already talked about that. Let's go ahead and keep going and see what he had to say here.
Georgia impacts and changes the world every day. Look at your neighbor and say, that's what we do. That's what we do. Georgia changed the way the world drank. And that's why we brought them Coca-Cola. Georgia changed the way the world looked at TV. That's why we brought them CNN. Georgia changed how it is that we see community. That's why we brought Martin Luther King Jr.
This is the same stuff, and that's what I'm talking about. This is the same. If I closed my eyes, I would have thought I was at his church. Or rather, if I saw this first and then went to his church, and I went to his church and closed my eyes, I would have thought I was still here at this rally.
When we lost John Lewis, America thought Georgia was over. But when we lost John Lewis, God brought us John Ossoff. Georgia is America's promise to do better. They've been gerrymandering our districts. They've been closing our polling places. They have been making it hard to vote, making it illegal for you to give out water, illegal for you to give out chairs, illegal for you to give out food, and guess what? We still showed up to the polls. In America, voters are supposed to pick their representatives. But in 2026, the Republicans are now trying to pick their voters. But those of us who are here tonight who understand that the best people who we ought to pick are in the building tonight. Would you celebrate John Ossoff and Keisha Lance Bottoms? In 250 years, America has never had a black woman as a governor. November 3rd, that changes. We're going to make history. All of the women in this room who believe that women's rights matter, women's voices matter. We celebrate, we stand by, and we are going to vote for the next governor for the state of Georgia, Keisha Lance Bottoms. Would you celebrate that? There are parts of America that are afraid tonight, and they are afraid because of the man that we stand beside, the man whose arms we lift up. Because there are some people who enter politics because they want something. There are people who enter politics who think that they can take something. But the man tonight who I am honored to introduce, he did not inherit power, he earned it. He didn't slide into a seat on the shoulders of a dynasty, he fought for it. And not only did he fight for America, he fought for every person who is in this room. And because your voice matters, you ought to be glad you have somebody who speaks up for you. When they told John Ossoff that Georgia wasn't winnable, he went to work. When they said the runoff was a long shot, he started knocking on doors. When they tried to suppress the vote, he stood on corners. We do not have a roll-over, mealy-mouthed, spineless leader. We have somebody who will look Mitch McConnell in the face. They co-authored legislation to protect voting rights. He stood up for the relief of student loans. I gotta pause right here. Anybody who's ever had student loans ought to make noise right now. He fought for healthcare access. He has been a relentless voice for the vulnerable when the powerful want to stay comfortable. We need him not just because Georgia needs him. We need him because America needs him. We need him because the middle class is being squeezed. We need him because those who are in abject poverty have been forgotten. We need him because our children deserve a future. We need him because too many homes are being foreclosed. We need him because too many seniors have to figure out medication or groceries. We need him because too many billionaires are not paying their share in taxes. America.
I don't know much about the whole school situation. That kind of caught me off guard. I think Keisha had mentioned something about making sure, or maybe he's going to say that in a second, in regards to making sure that kindergartners or that 3-year-olds can go to kindergarten. That's something I've never heard of, so I have to definitely look into that. In regards to the houses and foreclosures, I mean, it's the same thing like what happened during 2008. The housing market, how that completely went up in flames and there was so many foreclosures. Right now, I'm seeing that the situation that's happening with a lot of people is more than likely these people that got their house during COVID and probably got messed up like we did, where after over a course of the 3 years that I was living at, or that we were living in the house that we purchased in 2022, I believe. Let's see if I'm doing the math right. We've been here for a year. 2022, yeah. In 2022, yeah. Over the course of the 3 years that we were living there, property taxes shot up to where that increased our mortgage, I think, $600. Property taxes. That's not something that the presidency can really control. And I feel like that's probably happening with a lot of people, especially here in Georgia, and especially if you're living in Gwinnett County. That's what was happening with a lot of people. And it was more than likely a tax reassessment. And the property taxes is due to how much the house is worth. So they increase the taxes based off of that. And because of COVID, bringing the prices of all housings, the market, and the situation that happened there, that's how we got the increase in the property taxes. So that really wasn't, the administration's, for that matter. It was really just how the housing market works that affected that. And then on top of that, with the whole, taxing the rich and making sure that the billionaires, pay their fair share in taxes. Everybody has to pay the taxes. I mean, we pay our taxes. If they don't pay, they have some type of tax write-off that they got going on. And there's some type of, again, like I mentioned before, there's maybe some type of finesse that they have going on. But at the end of the day, that's because of what they're doing. It makes it so that they can do that. There's a lot of people that I know, and this is just for instance, this could just be my situation. Let me know in the comment section if it's just my situation. But how taxes work for me, based off of the extraness that I did with my money, giving, donating, all this, that, and the third. I've heard of people, married couples and single couples, that were saying that they owe taxes and they continuously owe taxes. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty weird. Why is it that this time around I didn't owe taxes? We actually got a refund. Mind you, I got a new job, making more money in a whole different new tax bracket. Even as a married couple, we're in a whole new different tax bracket, yet I was able to get money back. Well, that's because I do a little more than the average person. And because of this, mind you, during the regular year, I'm supposed to owe money because the money isn't taken out from my check. I'm supposed to owe money. But because of various things that I do, and I realized that I can put as deductions, I was able to do so. And it's nothing that I've cheated. It's simple questions that they ask, simple stuff that I do throughout the year. And look at that. Now when tax comes, even though I'm supposed to be owing money like a lot of other people do, we didn't. So it's really, so that comment, it's like, you really have to ask the average person, you made X amount of dollars, and that's the money that you made that you accumulated yourself. Would you be okay with taking more money out of that in taxes so that can go to whatever else for the community, for the state, and all that stuff? I promise you that majority of the people are going to say no. Just saying that. But
with himself to create a $1.8 billion slush fund so he can cut checks to cronies and Jan 6 foot soldiers.
So this is John Ossoff, and honestly, this is he had a 30-minute speech, which did run off for quite a while. This has already gone on for about 30 minutes. I didn't want to allow this to push too much farther. If you guys want the whole video for this thing and just me going through, go ahead and throw like the channel and throw an American flag in the comments if you want to see pretty much his whole speech and my thoughts while we're watching it. But essentially, he's talking about, Gen 6 and like paying off those that, stormed the White House in Gen 6 and all that stuff. Which is crazy because it actually came out that during that Gen 6 time, a lot of the 16 of the individuals that actually infiltrated the White House were FBI agents. What were they doing there? We don't know. But during the time, that was under Biden's administration. So it's like, what were they doing? We don't know. So that's not to prove here nor there, but using Gen 6, it's like, bro, that was passed and weird stuff is still coming out from both sides. I don't know. So some of the other topics that they came up with was, let me see, I took some notes. We talked about decreased housings, jobs for teachers. There was mentioned that John Ossoff fought to put in like $700,000 for teacher jobs throughout the state. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a lot. If I'm looking at the numbers correctly, average when I was working at the school system, average salary was about $45,000 for a teacher. And let's see, if we count teachers 10, 20, 30. So in the middle school, we'll say there's about 30 teachers. That's already $1,350,000. So I don't know which teachers they were supporting to have jobs in Georgia, but that didn't really seem too accurate. But I may have misheard. I don't know. And the other thing is, I was just talking to my daughter recently. She's an aspiring teacher. She's in college right now. When we were looking up salaries for jobs, teacher jobs in Gwinnett County, and it's increased already. It's increased significantly. It went from the low being like, I think it was like 30s, maybe 40s, or maybe 30s, but definitely 40s when I was working with the school system pre-COVID, to now being minimum is 65. So I'm like, it seems like it's gone up, and we just looked at it last week. So there's already something that's in the works there as far as them getting a salary increase. So that was kind of a wasted point, but a lot of people probably don't even know that. They just still think that they're getting underpaid. I don't know. Again, the whole talk when it comes to kindergartners not being in schools, I don't know anything about that. That didn't make sense. I thought kindergarten was just mandatory. I didn't know that there's some that there were some locations that didn't have kindergarten, whatever the case may be, or some students didn't have kindergarten. But I guess that just comes from my perspective and how I was raised and all that. So it could be an underside on my side, but interestingly enough, I'm not sure. The other thing is in regards to voting rights, and I wanted to bring that up because there's a friend of mine, a fellow Haitian of mine. She actually posted a question in regards to the SAVE Act. So she posted a question, and one of the questions was in regards to the SAVE Act, and if it was really helping America be great again. Now, I was saying, to me, there's only so much that I knew in regards to the SAVE Act. Apparently, there was an increase of requirements, something like 30 something requirements. So they mentioned the whole Voters Act registration, the SAVE Act, and the right to vote. Now, again, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on Facebook in regards to the SAVE Act and if it really helped make America great again. Apparently, there's some like 30-something requirements that she mentioned that was in the act that a lot of people don't know about. And I mean, I didn't know about it. I just knew the general information, proof of registration, photo ID for ballot, no more mail-in, online or mail-in registrations, voter registrations drives, that type of stuff. Essentially, you need an ID. The main premise is that you need some verification that it's you when you go to vote. Apparently, there's some other stuff that was added onto it that could affect a lot more people. But my thing is, overall, and which is interesting because, yes, we had that argument where there's like a whole bunch of requirements, this, that, and there. That's absolutely fine. But I think there was, to me personally, based off of the information that was given in the past, especially like when we had, a lot of immigrants coming into America and stuff like that, that the Democrats were using the immigrants coming in so that they can not only redistrict the mapping because now they have a higher population, but also to gain more votes and allow the people that aren't citizens to vote. I think that if you are going to vote in America, you need to be a citizen here. Even those that have green cards to be in America should not be able to vote. You have a green card. You're not a citizen yet. You just have permissions to be in America. Why do you come from a different country and then now you can have a say so in how this country is run? That honestly doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to if you're going to literally come into my household and then think that you have a say in things that's going on, nah, bro. If you're here temporarily, or God forbid, if you're not even supposed to be here in the first place, you think you're going to have a say in what goes on? No. What? Where? Come on, guys. Let's be for real. But anyways, I do need to go back and look at that information and see exactly what was all put on there as far as like the restrictions. That is the more restrictions that are now put in regards to voting. But I mean, outside of that, and here's the last bit of information that I'll say, and I'll end on this note. What I've come to realize is that even though I've been made aware of my actual conservative is more citing values than liberal, I think, and there was this one rapper or somebody in the entertainment industry that mentioned this, that when he goes and he votes, he talks to the governors, he talks to the mayors, he talks to locals, and he mentioned that the local is more important because this is where you live. This is where you live. America is America. What they do here versus what they do in California, what they do in New York versus what they do in Texas versus what they do in Michigan. Though it's all different and it's all going to be different. Taxes are going to be different. Property taxes are going to be different. Specific laws are going to be different. The way that the taxes are used are going to be different. So we should care more about the local and state elections versus the presidential. Yes, the president affects what happens in the world overall, but that's how we have the branches to stop it. Guys, listen, everybody can keep saying that Trump is king. Believe me, if there wasn't the justice system that we have in place and the God knows how many executive orders that they've shut down that Trump tried to put in place, you wouldn't be saying that Trump is king. There's so many things that Trump has tried to put in place and tried to shut down that the judicial system just wouldn't allow to happen. But there's still some stuff that he was allowed to do, and so he was allowed to do it. That's any president. So, with that being said, the rapper that I was referring to, when he's going out and voting and talking to people, stuff like that, he says that it's left and right for him. It doesn't matter Democrat, Republican. What matters is what it is this person says that they're going to do and making sure that they do it. And that's how we all should be looking at things. And that's how I feel things, because even like I said, even though I have increased on I come to realization of my conservative values, I still care for people. I still, as I should, being a Christian, want to look out for those who are in dire situations. What I won't do is I won't look out for those that put themselves in their situations and don't want to get themselves out of the situations, but expect somebody else to get them out of their situations. That's what I won't do. But to help other people, yes. That truly need the help, yes. And need the right help, yes. Giving somebody that's homeless money isn't going to solve anything, because that person may be homeless by choice. If they want to live in their situations, live in that situation. Don't expect me to pay for your bad habits or the habits that you want to live in, that you suck yourself. Now, if you have a mental disorder, then there's mental facilities, then okay, that's absolutely cool. So then we could work with something from there. But that's either here nor there. At the end of the day, John Ossoff doesn't seem that bad of a senator, but that's just going off of this rally. So of course he's going to sound good. That's what they do, especially the Democrats. That's just what they do. They're good at that. I really have to see him in like a setting where he's asked specific questions. But I mean, he's been senator before, so I think this is re-election for him. So clearly what he's been doing, what's been done so far is what he's been doing the past couple of years. And if that's the case, then that's the case. So all this to say, this was interesting. There's more information that I need to learn as a citizen and understanding politics and understanding who does what. What can and can't the mayor do? What can and can't the governor do? What can and can't the senators do? And all their roles and understanding their part in the local field. Because the president can't do nothing for Georgia. The president has to do stuff for the whole U.S. And then you have the branches that puts them in check for that, the best that they can, or they side with him, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the local and the state, that's something that should be more important and what should be more of concern. So, interestingly enough, guys, I mean, this was a Democratic rally. If there's a Republican rally that's supposed to be happening soon, once they figure out, who's going to go for the primaries in November for the Republican. If you guys have a link or anything like that, have a way for me to go and see that, just as long as it's not during the day, because I'm not taking a day off of work to go to one of these, I'll be sure to go check it out and see what's going on there. But as always, guys, y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.